I never see another birthday. It's over with, Joe. If you love me, to say that shit now, because this gonna be the last time they never say it. If you love me, nigga, you really love me, nigga, call my phone, because it's gonna be the last time you gonna be able to say it, Joe. I just fucked up. And ain't nothing I can do about it. Ain't nothing I can do about it. I just fucked up, bro.
This is a grown man on Facebook Live saying goodbye to the entire world. Just minutes before he started the live stream, he stood over the mother of his child and fired an entire clip into her while their young son looked on. She was shot 11 times and, against all odds, survived. Take a moment to let that sink in, because the man crying on your screen is not even the most heartbreaking part of this story. Here is the first thing I want you to remember. This is Leja AG, a mail carrier from Chicago who did everything people tell victims to do. She obtained a restraining order. She relocated to a confidential apartment. She stayed in hotels so no one around her would end up caught in the crossfire. Yet none of those steps protected her from the man who continued tracking her down. Now look at that same man, the one who insisted he loved her more than his own life, as he attempts to explain what he had done.
I love that woman dearly, bro. I love her dearly, bro. I love that lady dearly, bro. I'm gonna stay strong, G. I'm over with, KT. It's over with for me, KT. I hope you enjoy knowing me, shorty. It's over with. It's over with, bro. Shorty. Shorty, you don't understand, shorty. You will never understand, shorty. I'm finna get off this shit, but shorty, it's over with for it. It's over with for it.
Here is the second moment, and this one is even harder to process. A 3-year-old stood beside a car covered in bullet holes, gently pulling at his wounded mother and saying, "Come on, Mom, let's go." That little boy had just witnessed his own father trying to wipe out his entire family in the middle of a Sunday afternoon. But before we dive fully into Leja's story, we need to begin with another one. Before Leja, before anyone was in tears on a live stream for the world to watch, there was a young woman in Georgia named Crystal Williams who made one decision that women make every day across this country. She decided she was finished with the relationship. That was all. That was the only thing she did, and it ended up costing her everything. Crystal Cherise Williams was a 22-year-old woman with New York roots and a personality that lit up every room the moment she walked in. The people who knew her never described her as quiet or reserved. They spoke about her as if she carried energy wherever she went, like she had a light that naturally shined on everyone around her. She was born on August 15, 1998 at North Shore Hospital in Queens. From the day she entered the world, she was considered especially meaningful because she was the first girl born into her father's family in 3 full generations. Her father, Mark Williams, often shared the story of how she would greet him at the front door after his long days working as a sanitation worker, bringing him his slippers before he even had to ask. That little girl eventually became a strong, funny young woman who refused to let people take advantage of her. When Mark stood before the crowd gathered in her memory, he described her in a way that captured exactly who she was. He said she was never a pushover, but she was a caring person who always spoke her mind, someone who brought excitement wherever she went and loved enjoying life. She graduated from Brookwood High School in Snellville in 2017, one of the state's highest-rated schools. After graduation, she immediately focused on creating opportunities for herself by selling shirts and other merchandise while building a name as a beauty influencer. She also planned to launch her own exclusive online content. According to her family, she always looked polished whenever anyone saw her. She loved posing for photos as though she already believed she was destined to become a star. Throughout all of that, she also helped raise her younger brother alongside their mother. She spent countless hours playing video games with him while encouraging his dreams of becoming an actor and model. To him, she was more than an older sister. She was like a second mother. That is the kind of person the world lost. Her mother was the other half of this story, and it is impossible to understand Crystal without first understanding Daniel. Daniel Sims was 46, a kind and welcoming woman who was born in New York City in 1974. She grew up in the church before eventually settling with her family in the Lawrenceville area of Georgia. She worked as an executive assistant, and she devoted her life to her. Everyone who knew her said she would give you the shirt off her back and make even a complete stranger feel like part of the family. She was also the kind of mother who openly told her children that she would give her life for them. Remember that, because it will come back in a way that is impossible to forget. Then there is the man Crystal chose. What is unusual about him is that there is almost nothing to say about who Justin Turner was as a person, because his history is nearly empty except for his legal troubles. Justin Dion Turner was 23. In January of 2018, he was hit with 13 criminal charges stemming from a single incident. Among the charges we know about were aggravated assault on a police officer and fleeing from law enforcement. That case followed him for years. In April of 2020, he was arrested again in Stone Mountain on that same case. Spent about 4 days in the DeKalb County Jail and then walked free. By late August, prosecutors had dropped 12 of those 13 charges, leaving only the assault on a police officer charge unresolved. That is exactly why he was out of jail only weeks before everything reached its tragic end with Crystal. This was the man Crystal moved in with. The hardest part to accept is how quickly everything fell apart. The couple had lived together for less than 90 days, around 2 months, before Crystal began feeling trapped. In just a matter of weeks, what had started as a new relationship turned into one filled with control and fear. From the very beginning, her family felt something was wrong about him and tried to warn her. But as you already know, that is often how things go when someone young is in love. The kind of hesitation men like this depend on. Crystal had already tried once to leave and could not. Her younger brother made that clear when he told reporters that she had tried to get away from Turner before, but had been unable to do so. By the first week of September, however, she had truly made up her mind. She was going back home to her mother, and this time she was not returning. Now here is something that anyone who studies abusive relationships will tell you every single time, and it is important to let it sink in. The most dangerous point in an abusive relationship is not while she stays. It is the moment she decides to leave. That is when the person who depends on control feels it slipping away. That is the exact moment Crystal stepped into on the night of September 6, 2020. She had no idea she was entering the most dangerous period of the entire situation. She only knew she wanted to go home. That Sunday evening, Crystal exchanged words with Turner one final time before reaching out to her mother for help. Daniel got into the family's SUV with Crystal's 18-year-old brother, Malachi, and a younger child, and they drove to the Dunwoody Glen apartments to pack up Crystal's belongings and bring her home for good. This was supposed to be the rescue. It was supposed to be the night the nightmare finally ended and she returned home safely. Instead, it became the night everything fell apart. They almost made it out. They came so close to getting away. The family's SUV was heading toward the exit onto Peachtree Industrial when everything unraveled within just a few seconds. Let Malachi describe what he witnessed from inside that SUV, because no news anchor or reporter can tell it with the same truth and emotion as the younger brother who lived through it himself.
Out of nowhere, Justin cuts us off and comes out with a gun, and he pulls Crystal out at gunpoint. My mom gets outside, and my mom is over her, using herself as a shield for my sister.
That woman who always said she would give her life for her children was not simply saying the words. Daniel jumped out of the SUV and threw herself over her daughter, using her own body to stop every bullet that was meant for Crystal. She covered her child like a shield made of nothing but love and flesh. She did not run, even though she had every opportunity to do so. And Turner never hesitated. Listen to just how close he was standing when he opened fire.
He was point blank, like he was right there, and he just shot. Boom, 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 and then all of a sudden, I guess he just pointed it at me. He just wanted me dead. I don't know how he missed.
Police recovered 8 shell casings in front of the family's SUV. Officers with Dunwoody Police received the call at around 10:39 that night reporting multiple people had been shot. When they arrived, they found 3 victims lying on the ground beside the SUV. Crystal died there at the scene. Daniel was transported to Grady Memorial Hospital, still fighting for her life, but her injuries were too severe, and she also passed away, leaving this world hand in hand with her daughter just as they had lived together. Malachi was shot but survived his injuries, while the younger child remained inside the SUV and was unharmed. One mother and one daughter were gone. One brother was left carrying that trauma for the rest of his life, and the entire attack was recorded by the apartment complex's surveillance cameras. Turner fled into the night like a coward. The investigation moved quickly because he left behind an unmistakable trail. The apartment complex surveillance cameras had captured the entire attack. The way he used his vehicle to block the family's SUV, the way he pulled Crystal out, and the way he opened fire. That footage has remained secured as evidence ever since. Detectives recovered 8 shell casings at the scene, had a surviving eyewitness in Malachi giving his statement from a hospital bed, and were searching for a suspect who had already fled. This was never a mystery. It was a manhunt. He did not stay free for long. The following day, September 7th, Dunwoody detectives located Turner in Atlanta and arrested him after a foot chase. He was booked into the DeKalb County Jail and charged with 2 counts of murder, aggravated assault, and possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. Later, coverage reported an expanded list of charges that included 3 aggravated assault counts and 3 firearm counts, matching the 3 people who had been inside that SUV. When Turner appeared before a judge, Magistrate Judge Joyce Neal refused to set bond and ordered that he remain in custody with no possibility of release. 9 days after the shooting, nearly 100 people gathered outside those same apartment buildings for a candlelight vigil. During that gathering, Crystal's family transformed the worst night of their lives into a warning for others. They shared the reality behind the statistics, explaining that Georgia ranked 10th in the nation for men killing women, that having a firearm in a violent home increases the risk of death by 500%, and that firearms accounted for 73% of the state's domestic violence deaths during the previous decade. Those figures are not simply background information. They explain why this same tragedy continues to happen in city after city. A firearm, a man unwilling to let go, and a woman at the very moment she chooses to leave. When those 3 factors come together, the danger escalates with devastating speed. That is the exact situation Crystal and her mother drove into that night. This was not even the first time this family had faced such heartbreak. One of Crystal's aunts, Asia Green, told those gathered that they had already lost a brother to gun violence years earlier, and now they were standing there once again. She said this was the 3rd time, and this tragedy had taken her sister away. Crystal's father used that moment to plead with other parents. He urged them that if they noticed something wrong with the person their daughter is dating, they should speak up, pay close attention, and contact the police or a helpline before it becomes too late. He said that if he had known what was coming, he would have done exactly that. Months later, during the joint celebration of life for both Crystal and Daniel, one of their aunts spoke about the moment she watched the surveillance footage showing her sister giving her life to protect her daughter. It is a moment that stays with you long afterward.
And the fact when I watched that footage and saw how my sister cuffed her daughter, it was almost as if you were really kind of like looking, it's like she grabbed her wings and wrapped her wings around her daughter to try and protect her.
Malachi stood at that same memorial service and spoke with heartbreaking honesty about the man his sister had loved and stood by, even when no one else did.
Justin, everything she could have. And Justin repaid her by doing what he did.
Then came the moment that will truly test your spirit. Crystal's father stood before that church congregation and did something that almost no one on earth could do. He looked out at everyone and said he forgave the man who murdered his daughter and his ex-wife because he refused to let hatred transform him into someone like the man who committed those crimes.
You ain't never gonna believe I was gonna say. I forgive Justin. Should I get an amen for that? Amen. I forgive this man. Because God didn't make us to be like him.
That homegoing service, held on September 21st at New Mercies Christian Church, revealed everything about who these 2 women truly were. Family members traveled from New York, Washington, and Maryland to say goodbye to both of them together. One after another, people stood up and described the same image of Crystal. She was the only granddaughter, the family's princess, the one who would question any boy who came anywhere near her older brother, and the one who packed her best friend's lunch and even did her laundry simply because she cared about her. One of her aunts also shared that only days before she was killed, Crystal had called her full of excitement about launching a t-shirt line they planned to build together. That tells you she was making plans for a future she never had the chance to live. That is what was taken away at the exit of that apartment complex. In many ways, even harder to process than what she did not. Laysia grew up with very little support. She has shared that her mother died when she was still a child, that she does not have much family, and that lack of a support system became something a controlling man could exploit. Someone determined to control you has a much easier time when there is no one nearby to protect you. Even so, she built a meaningful life from almost nothing. She worked as a mail carrier for the United States Postal Service for a little over a year and had recently become a full-time regular employee. She also operated a small business on the side. While raising the young son she shared with the man who would eventually try to take her life. This was a woman who woke up every morning, working hard to provide for her son, not someone sitting around waiting for someone else to rescue her. That man's name was Larry Searink, 27, from the Austin neighborhood on the west side of Chicago. And just like Justin Turner in Georgia, there is almost nothing to tell you about who he was beyond the harm he caused. There is no meaningful record of his childhood, no family coming forward to speak about him, and no personal story that helps explain who he was. Throughout this entire case, he appears only as the dark presence hanging over Laysia's life. That is a pattern worth paying attention to across all three of these cases. The men responsible for the violence are almost blank pages, while the women they hurt leave behind full, well-documented lives that the people who love them can talk about for hours. According to Laysia herself, the abuse began after their son was born in 2017. At first, it was smaller incidents, but over time it became more severe until, about a year before the shooting, it had grown into something she described as excessive, unbearable, and nearly fatal. The list of what this man put her through reads like a nightmare that never seemed to end. She obtained a restraining order, and he violated it by showing up at her home and fighting with police when they responded. She moved into her own apartment without telling him where she lived, yet he still managed to find it. He came out of a utility closet carrying a gun, threatened both her and her grandmother, and smashed every window in the apartment until the landlord told her she had to move out. He destroyed the vehicles she had purchased with her own money, intentionally driving one into a garage and smashing the windows of another before chasing her down the street with a baseball bat. He took their son and refused to return him unless she agreed to come back to him. He gained access to her phone, her accounts, and her money. On Valentine's Day, of all days, he climbed into the trunk of her car and hid there. He even created a fake apartment listing simply to lure her to a place where he could get close enough to reach her. This was not a man with a short temper. This was someone carrying out a non-stop campaign to control another person's life. It is also important to understand what she was facing from the legal system, because she did try to use it. Police told her there was only so much they could do because he was the father of her child and court proceedings take time. That is not a minor detail. That is the heart of the trap. A man like this learns exactly how far he can push things without immediate consequences, and he uses the slow pace of the system to his advantage. Laysia filed police reports. She obtained an order of protection. She completed all the required paperwork. He treated every bit of it as though it meant nothing because he knew those documents could not physically stand between him and her. Every time she built a barrier, he found a way around it, over it, or straight through it. The abuse eventually affected every part of her life, including her job. Things became so dangerous that her coworkers began walking her to her car after noticing him driving. Around her workplace. The United States Postal Service even offered to help her relocate so she could get away from him. Then she lost that job after being accused of stealing mail, an allegation she said was completely false and connected to her abuser. She said losing that job crushed her spirit. Now read through that entire list again and understand something important. People often sit back and ask why she kept returning, as if it were a personal flaw, as if leaving were as simple as walking out the door. Laysia answered that question better than anyone else could. She explained that she stayed in hotels whenever she could to protect the people she loved from being harmed, that sometimes she returned because she genuinely feared for their safety, and that people assume leaving is easy when, in reality, it is anything but. So picture where she was by the beginning of 2021. No mother she could turn to. Very little family. A lost job. cars destroyed, safe addresses no longer safe, and a man who continued finding her no matter what she did or where she hid. She was not weak. She was trapped. Even then, she was still trying to escape. And that word, trapped, is the one that matters most, because it explains what so many people on the outside fail to understand. When people see a woman return to a man like this, they assume weakness or poor decisions. What they are really seeing is someone forced to calculate risks that most of us will never have to face. To make, do I leave and risk him going after my grandmother, my uncle, or my child? Or do I stay and take the abuse myself so no one else gets hurt? Laysia kept making that calculation over and over again, choosing to endure the violence herself in an effort to protect the people she loved. That is not a woman who failed to recognize what was happening. That is a woman who was protecting everyone except herself, right up until the day the man decided even that would not satisfy him. By the time that Sunday in February arrived, Laysia had already tried everything she could think of. She had gone to the police, gone through the courts, moved to new places, hidden, given in, and then tried once more to leave. She was emotionally exhausted, but still standing. So when he drove up beside her again, told her to get into the car, and she looked at him and answered, "No." Understand that it was not just a simple word. That no was the voice of a woman who had finally decided she would no longer let fear control her life, no matter the cost. She had no way of knowing what that decision was about to cost her. Sunday, February 21st, 2021. Around noon, Laysia arrived at her home in the 7800 block of South Muskegon Avenue in Chicago's South Shore neighborhood, and Larry was already there waiting for her, just as he always seemed to be. Her 3-year-old son was with her. Her grandmother, around 60 years old, and her uncle, around 53, were also nearby, simply going about an ordinary day. None of them had any idea what was about to unfold on that sidewalk in broad daylight. He pulled his vehicle alongside hers and began talking to her. At first, he was calm, trying to persuade her to get into his car. She refused. She was tired of running and tired of living this way. Once again, she said no. In her own words, he replied, "Okay, okay." Then he pulled up and immediately started shooting. He did not stop with her. He shot Laysia. Then he opened fire on her uncle and her grandmother as they stood outside the home. He fired into the car while their little boy was still inside, emptying the entire clip into all of them. Laysia was struck 11 times, with most of the bullets tearing through her pelvis and her right leg. That number does not even include the bullet holes he left in her vehicle. Her grandmother was shot in the arm, and her uncle was also wounded, with around 8 shots striking members of the family altogether. Through all of it, her 3-year-old son was not hit. Instead, he tried to save his mother, pulling on her and saying, "Come on, Mom," as though they could simply stand up and drive away from what had just happened. Laysia has made it clear what she believes Larry intended that day. She said it plainly. "I believe he was trying to kill me and leave no witnesses. And do not move past that little boy too quickly, because he is the quiet victim in this story. 3 years old, strapped into a car while bullets tore through everything around him, watching his own father shoot his mother and other members of his family, then standing there trying to lift her from the ground. Whether he fully understands it now or not, that afternoon will stay with him for the rest of his life. He will grow up knowing exactly what happened, and that is a burden no toddler should ever have to carry. The same is true for the children in every one of these cases, the ones sitting in the car, inside the house, riding a bicycle, or caught in the middle of violence committed by grown men. They survive the gunfire, but they inherit the trauma. All 3 adults were rushed to the University of Chicago Medical Center in critical condition. Laysia remained hospitalized for a long period afterward, coping with liver damage and pain that has never gone away. But right in the middle of that nightmare was something remarkable. Every one of them survived. Every person that man tried to erase that afternoon was still alive. The entire attack was captured on surveillance cameras. And Larry, instead of disappearing or trying to hide, reached for his phone. He went live on Facebook for the whole world to watch. What he said was not truly an apology. It was a man feeling sorry for himself. Listen carefully to the way he talks about the moment he emptied an entire clip into the mother of his child.
Because I can't even believe I just did, and I don't even know what just pushed me to snap like that, yo. I don't even know what just pushed me to snap like that, dude. That shit, I just lost it. I just lost it, bro.